So we're in the Bible. Let's see here. Joshua 10 through 12. 10, 11, and 12. Yeah. What's up, man? We're in the Bible. Thank you, Father God, for giving us another day. Thank you for providing for us. Thank you for being here. I invite you in this room with me. I invite you in every room of everybody who is with me on my live and after when I post it on my, page. And I just pray that you speak through me and allow those to truly hear what you need them to hear. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. So as soon as Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had captured Ai and had devoted it to destruction, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, he feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were warriors. So Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoham, king of Hebron, to Piram, king of Jarmuth, to Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, saying, "Come up to me and help me, and let us strike Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the people of Israel." Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, and the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon gathered their forces one up with their armies and encamped against Gibeon and made war against it. They're over here like the Avengers, man, teaming up together. And the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, "Do not relax your hand from your servants. Come to us quickly and save us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites who dwell in the hill country are gathered against us." So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for I have given them into your hands. Not a man of them shall stand before you." So Joshua came upon them suddenly, having marched up all night from Gilgal. And the Lord threw them into panic before Israel, who struck them with a great blow at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of the ascent of Beth Horon, and struck them as far as Ezekah and Makkedah. And as they fled before Israel while they were going down the ascent of Beth Horon, the Lord threw down large stones from heaven, and them as far as Ezekah, and they died. There were more who died because of the hailstones than the sons of Israel killed with the sword. Interesting. Let's see if there's any I'm saying if there's like historical evidence of accounts happening that are in the Bible, and you'd be surprised how much there are. So let's see, in Joshua 10. Or is there evidence? Quick little search. So they describe hailstones falling. Most scholars note that ice hailstones melt and leave no permanent trace. Some researchers point to specific geological historical finding evidence. The stonefall sediment layer. Some specialized studies, such as those reported by Bible Hub, cite an anomalous stratum of limestone and dolomite spheroids found in the Wadi El Kilit and Beth Horon descent. Microscopic analysis. These researchers claim that the percentage of these stones show fusion crusts and shocked quartz, which are signatures of high-velocity atmospheric entry, similar to meteorites. Optically stimulated luminescence dating in the soil surrounding these stones has provided a date of approximately 1400 BC, aligning with the conservative biblical timeline. Oh, so there is kind of some evidence that giant stones fell out of the sky and helped beat them. So Beth Horon is known for a unique microclimate that generates some of the most severe spring hailstorms in the region. Meteorological Services has documented modern hailstorms in this exact corridor weighing nearly 8.4 pounds. That's some... Imagine an 8.4 pound like stone falling from the sky. That's definitely capable of killing somebody. Some scholars point that Merneptah, Amata, and the Papyrus Equerry, which record stones of the sky devastating the hill country of Shazu, a term often linked to the early Israelites around the same era. Additionally, an ancient Ugaritic myth mentions a deadly stone storm at the exact pass of Beth Horon, suggesting a shared regional memory of the catastrophic event. Very interesting. So there's scientific evidence of it happening, or what people believe is scientific evidence of it happening. Crazy. So then, yeah. At the time Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day when the Lord gave the Amorites over to the sons of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, sun stand still at Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Aijalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until the nation took vengeance on their enemies. It was like an eclipse. I wonder if there's proof of that too. Joshua 10:13. So interesting. So there's less. No universally accepted scientific proof of the sun standing still. NASA and other scientific bodies have officially confirmed this story is an urban legend or hoax. Computers cannot discover a missing day from the past because they have no true clock to compare against it. So this is just a little harder to prove. The findings, they pinpoint a specific annular solar eclipse that occurred on October 30th, 1207 BCE. They argued that the Hebrew word dome, translated standstill, shares a root with the Babylonian astronomical terms meaning to be dark or cease shining. An eclipse creates a double dusk effect, which ancient witnesses might have described as the sun not hurrying to set or standing still. While NASA did not find a lost day, modern astronomers have identified a major solar eclipse in 1207 BCE that matches the location and potential of the language used in the book of Joshua. Where it says, sun stands still at Gibeon and moon in the valley, the sun stands still and the moon stopped until the nations took vengeance on their enemies. Once again, there is, God bless you, man, there's... It's not 100%, but they have identified that there was a solar eclipse that kind of matches what this is saying in 1207 BCE, which maybe the thing that caused it, but also there's no really way to prove it or not. So interesting. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? The sun stopped in the midst of heaven and did not hurry to set for about a whole day. There has been no day like it before or since when the Lord heeded the voice of the man, for the Lord fought for Israel. So Joshua returned and all Israel with him to the camp at Gilgal. So... These 5 kings fled and hid themselves in the cave at Makkedah, and it was told to Joshua, the 5 kings have been found hidden in the cave of Makkedah. And Joshua said, roll large stones against the mouth of the cave and set men by it to guard them, but do not stay there yourselves. Pursue your enemies, attack their rear guard. Do not let them enter their cities, for the Lord your God has given them into your hands. When Joshua and the sons of Israel had finished striking them with a great blow until they wiped out, and when the remnant that remained of them had entered the fortified cities, then all the people returned safe to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah. Not a man moved his tongue against any of the people of Israel. Then Joshua said, "Open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me from the cave." And they did so, and brought those 5 kings out of him from the cave: the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And when they brought these kings out of Joshua, Joshua summoned all the men of Israel and said to the chiefs of the men of war who had gone with them, "Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings." When they came near and put their feet on their necks. And Joshua said to them, "Do not be afraid or dismayed, but be strong and courageous, for thus the Lord will do to all your enemies against whom you fight." And afterward Joshua struck them and put them to death, and he hanged them on 5 trees. And they hung on the trees until evening. But at the time of the sun going down, Joshua commanded, and they took them down from the trees and threw them into the cave where they had hidden themselves. And they set large stones against the mouth of the cave, which they remain to this very day. Well, let's find if there's that evidence or possibly that. Let's see here. 10:27. Let's see if there's evidence of those kings in the cave. The text describes 5 Amorite kings being thrown into the cave where they're hidden with large stones rolled against the entrance. While a skeleton with a crown has not been found, archaeologists have identified a site that strikingly matches the biblical description of Makkedah. Many archaeologists identify biblical Makkedah. This site contains several features that align with the Kings in the Cave narrative. The Great Cave excavations discovered a large multi-chambered limestone cave systems on the eastern slope of the ridge, unique blocking stone on specific cave complexes, locally called Magaret El Mak, or Cave of the Kings, has a narrow natural throat that could easily be sealed by a single large stone. Who knew? Inside the cave, researchers found 5 skeletons lying on the floor beneath a collapsed entry slab. While they cannot be definitively named, specifically the king of the Amorite coalition, the presence of exactly 5 bodies in a sealed cave is strongly. That's crazy. That's so wild. That's there too. That's there. I don't know why I spoke with an accent, but. So the ceiling of the cave contains soot marks overlying late Bronze Age layers, indicating it was used for habitation or refuge exactly during the period of Joshua's conquest. The name of Makkedah inscription found on the walls of the cave record the name. Not for sure. Makkedah. Besides the royal, but like the abbreviation of it, because vowels weren't a thing, so basically how you would spell that without vowels, beside a royal or dynastic symbol, providing linguistic link to the biblical city. That's crazy, man. So kind of proof of that too. Let's continue. Where were we? Then Joshua said, "Open the mouth of the cave, bring those 5 kings out of the ark." Did I read that already? As he left none remaining. Yeah, there it is. Then Joshua and all Israel with him passed on from Makkedah to Libnah and fought against Libnah, and the Lord gave it also and its kings into the hand of Israel and struck it with the edge of the sword, and every person in it. He left none remaining in it, and he did to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him passed on from Libnah to Lachish and laid siege to it and fought against it. And the Lord gave Lachish into the hand of Israel and captured it on the second day and struck it with the edge of the sword and every person in it as he had done to Libnah. Then Horam, king of Jazer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua struck him and his people until he left none remaining. Then Joshua and all Israel with him passed on from Lachish to Eglon, and they laid siege to it and fought against it. And they captured it on the day and struck it with the edge of the sword. And he devoted every person in it to destruction that day as he done to Lachish. Then Joshua and all Israel with him went from Eglon to Hebron, and they fought against it and captured it and struck it with the edge of the sword, and its king and its towns and every person in it. He left none remaining as he had done to Eglon, and he devoted it to destruction and every person in it. Then Joshua and all Israel with him turned back to Debir and fought against it and captured it with its king and all its town, and they struck them with the edge of the sword and devoted to destruction every person in it. He left none remaining, just as he had done to Hebron and to Libnah and its king, so he did to Debir and its king. So Joshua struck the whole land, the hill country, and the Negeb, and the lowland, and the slopes, but all their kings had he left none remaining, but devoted to destruction all that breathed, just as the Lord God of Israel commanded. And Joshua struck them from Kadesh Barnea as far as Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, and as far as Gibeon. And Joshua captured all the kings and their land at one time, because the Lord of God of Israel fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. What's up, guys? Reading the Bible a little bit. It's crazy. So, like, I've been doing this thing where as I read the Bible, I basically check for, like, is there historical proof of the things that they're talking about? And in just this, in just chapter 10, because we're doing chapter 10 on. Did I tag? I need to pin it. So, in just chapter 10 alone, a bunch of things like evidence of, so 5 kings were in a cave. They killed the kings, and they sealed the cave. And then in that area, there's archaeological evidence of, it's hard to say if they were kings or not, but they found kings inside of a cave, or 5 people inside of a cave with insignias on the wall that were of the place that they were from, basically. And then before that, a city was destroyed by basically rocks coming from the sky. And then there's proof of archaeological evidence of in the settlement, I guess, giant rocks with atmospheric residue, or I don't know, whatever. They could just tell that these stones came from the sky, and it was like in the ground, and they were like, I guess in that area there are times where they have like 8-pound hails that come down. That's way more than enough to do damage. And then there's also kind of a lot of stories in different neighboring areas that tell of a time that a city was destroyed by a hailstorm. And also there was this eclipse, and the eclipse, according to like what NASA's able to pick up, there was an eclipse on this day at this time that matches up with the story as to if they can't say precisely if that was it or not, but there is evidence that there was an eclipse that happened around that time. So it's just a lot of stuff that so interesting. Like, people like to say that the Bible's a fairy tale, but I guess the fairy tale be very true. Okay, so now chapter 11, and then we're going to hit chapter 12. It is just these last pages right here, and we'll be done for today. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard of this, he sent to Jabin, king king of Madon, and the king of Shimron, and to the king of Achsfa, and to the kings who were in the northern hill country in the Arabah, south of Chinroth, and in the lowland and the Nephath Dor on the west, to the Canaanites in the east and the west of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites in the hill country, and the Hivites under the Hermon in the land of Mizpah. And they came out with all their troops, a great horde in number, like the sand that is on the seashore, with very many horses and chariots. And all these kings joined their forces and came and encamped together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. And the Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid. When God's with you, it don't matter how. It said as with as many people, horses and chariots and stuff, as there is sand in the seashore. That's a whole lot of people. And God said, do not be afraid, for tomorrow at this time I will give over all of them slain to Israel. You shall hamstring their horses and burn their chariots with fire. So Joshua and all his warriors came suddenly against them by the waters of Merom and fell upon them. And the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel, who struck them and chased them as far as Great Sidon and Misrephoth Maim, and eastward as far as valley of Mizpah. And they struck them until he left none remaining. And Joshua did to them just as the Lord said to him. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots with fire. And Joshua turned back at the time and captured Hazor, and struck its king with the sword. For Hazor formerly was the head of all of those kingdoms, and they struck with the sword all who were in it, devoting them to destruction. There was none left that breathed, and he burned Hazor with fire. And all the cities of the kings, of those kings and their kings, Joshua captured and struck them with the edge of the sword, devoting them to destruction, just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. But none of these cities that stood on mounds did Israel burn, except Hazor alone, that Joshua burned. And all the spoil of these cities and the livestock and people of Israel took their plunder, but every person they struck with the edge of the sword until they had destroyed them. And they did not leave and any who breathed, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, his servant. So Moses commanded Joshua, and so Joshua did. He left nothing undone, and all the Lord had commanded Moses. Let's see if there's historical, archaeological evidence of Hazor being burned. What verse is that? 13. There is massive archaeological evidence that the city of Hazor was destroyed by a catastrophic fire during the era of the biblical conquest. Hazor was the head of all these kingdoms, and archaeologists have found a destruction layer that perfectly matches the biblical description. Excavations led by Yigael Yadin and later Amnon ben Tor at Tel Hazor uncovered a layer of ash and scorched debris nearly 3 feet thick. The fire was so hot that it vitrified, which means turned into glass, the mud bricks and cracked the massive basalt pillars of the palace. This indicates an intentional high-intensity burn rather than an accidental fire. Joshua 11:13 specifies that Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds except Hazor. Archaeologically surrounding cities like Chinrith and show destruction, but Hazor is uniquely a total fiery one. Dang, that's crazy. Inside the burnt places, archaeologists found Canaanite and Egyptian statues with their heads and hands lopped off. This was a deliberate act of cult desacralization. The Israelites who were forbidden from idol worship would have had to clear a motive to decapitate the gods of their enemies after their victory. Very interesting. Inscribed tablets found at Hazor mention the king named Ibni Adu, or also Jabin, the king mentioned in Joshua. It's a biblical equivalent of that. This suggests that Jabin was a dynastic title for the kings of Hazor, similar to Pharaoh in Egypt. But yeah, it's crazy. So archaeological proof of that instant as well. Okay, where are we? Okay. Except alone that Joshua burned, and all the spoil of these cities and the livestock the people of Israel took for their plunder, but every person they struck with the edge of the sword until they had destroyed them, and they did not leave any who breathed, just as the Lord had commanded Moses his servant. So Moses commanded Joshua, and so Joshua did, and left nothing undone of all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua took all that land, the hill country, and all the Negeb, and all the land of Goshen, and the lowland, and the Arabah, and the hill country of Israel, and its lowland, from Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir, as far as Baal-Gad, in the valley of Lebanon, below Mount Hermon. And he captured all the kings and struck them and put them to death. Joshua made war a long time with all those kings. There was not a city that made peace with the peoples of Israel except the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. They took them all in battle, for it was the Lord doing to harden their hearts, that they should come against Israel in battle, in order that they should be devoted to destruction and should receive no mercy, but be destroyed, just as the Lord commanded Moses. And Joshua came at that time and cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, from Debir, from Anib, and from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua devoted them to destruction with their cities. There was none of the Anakim left in the land of the people of Israel. Only in Gaza, in Gath, and Ashdod did some remain. So Joshua took the whole land according to all that the Lord had spoken to Moses, and Joshua gave it for an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal allotments, and the land had rest from war. And again, I believe the Anakim are the giants. Yeah, the Anakim are described as a race of giants. So even those guys, even the giants, getting taken out by Joshua, because Joshua means business. Okay, so now we're on chapter 12. Last bit of chapter 12 that we're going to read. We're on chapter 12, so there's 24 verses, but this is the end of the reading for today. Now these are the kings of the land whom the people of Israel defeated and took possession of their land beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise, from the valley of the Arnon to Mount Hermon, with all the Arabah eastward. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon and ruled from Aroer, which is on the edge of the valley of Arnon, and from the middle of the valley as far as the river Jabbok, the boundary of the Ammonites, that is half of Gilead, and Arabah to the sea of Chinneroth eastward, and in the direction of Beth Jeshemoth to the sea of Arabah, the salt sea, southward to the foot of the slopes of Pisgah, and Og, king of Bashan, one of the remnant of the Rephaim, who lived at Ashtaroth at the Edrei, and ruled over Mount Hermon and Salika and all Bashan to the boundary of the Jeshurites and the Maccathites, and over half of the Gilead to the boundary of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the people of Israel defeated them, and Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave their land for the possession to the Reubenites and the Gadites and half of the tribe of Manasseh. So those are the kings defeated by Moses, and these are going to be the kings defeated by Joshua. And all the kings of the land whom Joshua and the people of Israel defeated on the west side of the Jordan, from Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, the rise toward Seir, and Joshua gave their land to the tribe of Israel as a possession according to their allotments in the hill of the country, in the lowland of Arba, in the slopes, in the wilderness, and in the Negeb of the land of the Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the Hivites and the Jebusites, the king of Jericho, one, the king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, one, the king of Jerusalem, one, the king of Hebron, one, the king of Jermuth, one, the king of Lachish, one, the king of Eglon, one, the king of Jezer, one, the king of Debir, one, the king of Geder, one, the king of Hormah, one, the king of Arad, one, the king of Libnah, one, the king of Adullam, one, the king of Makkedah, one, the king of Bethel, one, the king of Tapua, one, the king of Hepher, one, the king of Aphek, one, the king of Lasharon, one, the king of Madon, one, the king of Hazar, one, the king of Shimron, Moron, one, the king of Aksaph, one, the king of Tanakh, one, the king of Megiddo, one, the king of Kadesh, one, the king of Jokneam and Camel, one, the king of Dor and Naphath Dor, one, the king of Goyim in Galilee, one, the king of Tirzah, one, and all 31 kings. It's a whole lot of conquesting going on. So that's chapter 12. We did 10, 11, and 12 today. And interesting enough, like I said, a lot of people think that the Bible is just a lot of make-believe fairy tales, but as I was reading the Bible, I was just checking some scholarly sources and trying to see what, historians and archaeologists have to say about certain things. And, like I said, there was Joshua took out 5 kings inside of a cave and buried them inside there and closed the door. And I was like, is there any proof of this archaeologically? And even then, there's no way to say if those 5 people in the cave are the 5 kings, but they found 5 people in a cave in the area near where they're supposed to be. So geographically, it makes sense. 5 people, it makes sense. In a cave that is described similar way. And it's just like that has to be them. Like, it's why else would there be those people there? And then there's other occurrences, like a city got burned down, and archaeologically that city has extreme fire remains to the point that it turned like the mud bricks into glass, like a very intense heat. Like, it was no way that this kind of heat could have been an accident. And there's other occasions like that, and I was just checking them as I was reading, like, what's the proof? Like, is there proof for this incident? Is there proof for this? And like every time there was proof. There's archaeological proof that this could be this thing that they found. It makes sense for it to be there. So very interesting. As I've said, God is real. God loves you. God has a whole book telling you how he has come and he's fought for you and he's made sure that you are taken care of. Or he did it for the Israelites. He's going to do it for you. He does it for you every day today, and you don't even realize it. Your life can be a whole lot less, be a whole lot worse. You could be a whole lot worse off than what you are right now. You are abundantly blessed and you don't even realize it. Just make sure as you go to bed today, you thank God for everything he's given you. Practice gratitude. Understand that you are blessed, that you're loved, you're not alone, and you have a loving God there that's providing for you daily and is willing to take any pain and misery and sorrow and negativity off of you. He's like, I'm here. He's like, just give it to me. So like any crazy thoughts, any depression, anything like that, just give it all to him and, you know, allow the blessing of peace to come upon you, because that's what he promises you, you know? But yeah. God bless, guys. Good night, and with 3 more chapters tomorrow.